Thamarai TV நேயர்களுக்கு வணக்கம். A lot of times the issues that happen in Tamil Nadu remain in Tamil Nadu. So the very objective of doing this interview in English is to take it up to the other parts of the country and highlight the controversy that is happening here. So with me is Mr. Kishorekswamy. A lot of people don't need any intro for getting to know about Kishorekswamy because of his immense activity in social media. A public activist, a political activist, and a staunch opposer of DMK, if I might say so, is with us. Recently, he was taken for inquiry by Tamil Nadu police, and he was released immediately. But the mainstream media had made an issue that he was arrested for a serious allegation, and so we are here to debunk and understand what is the issue behind the entire thing. And so let's move on without much ado. Welcome, Mr. Kishorekswamy. So my first question to you is, why were you taken for inquiry, and what is the entire reason behind this fiasco?
See, as you know, how the whole thing has been going on, the narrative that has been going on in the social media, especially this is the us versus them kind of narrative that has been going on. That I would say that partially it is the other side that is responsible. That is the mainstream media. They have been projecting that they have been victimized, which is not the case, and they have been trying to say that they are being hounded out of their offices, which is also not the case. And they have been saying that there is a right-wing assault, there's a right-wing assault on them, which is also not the case. So, as part of it, I think now they've come out of this new narrative that women journalists are being targeted and they're being there's a volley of abuses on them. This is what is being said.
So have you seen the copy of the FIR?
I did see I did happen to see the copy of the summons that was issued to me.
So what were the sections listed there, and what is the allegation?
They had initially listed it on 509, and then they had added two more of that, and of course the women harassment section has also been added. To be very honest, the question, the moot point that I would like to raise, so I didn't want to go into the merits of the case because my legal wing, people, my legal counsel are taking care of it. But still, I can say that all these people who've been going in filing these complaints, none of these complainants have had any kind of a personal contact with me. In the sense, I have not even had an email conversation, or there's absolutely not been any communication between me.
Can you talk about the complainant who've taken this complaint to the police?
There is this particular lady who claims that I have made an abusive post against her, and therefore she claims that she's been affected. But the point remains that I have never seen this lady, and the whole question of talking about her or even bringing up this subject came up once about a few, say about 4 or 5 months ago. There were 2, 3, to be precise, 3 female co-workers of this particular lady who was working in this media house. These people had approached me, and they had given a particular, they've been voicing their concern that they're a kind of sexually, you can say that some kind of harassment is going on, and that harassment and this particular lady is encouraging it and is also forcing these people to comply.
The question is, sorry to interject, but why is Kishorekswamy being approached here? Has he done the role of a court or a tribunal, or why is it Kishorekswamy is being approached here?
Of course, I don't think I can bandy myself as an extra constitutional authority, because the minute somebody comes out with this kind of thing to me, the first thing I would say then to tell them is, you go to your management, which is the natural course of you go to your management. Though you think that you don't get justice, then maybe you should go to the authorities, which would be go to the police or go to the women associations which are all there, and the so-called women journalist associations which have now taking the cause of this particular lady. And what about the victims who have been affected by this lady? Now, the problem here is these are people from very humble background. So they would definitely hesitate to escalate this matter, because how the media works here, it's more or less, if it happens in any other business, you would call it cartelization. That's the kind of thing that works here, which means the minute you raise such an issue, you are immediately isolated, and you aren't encouraged in any other media house. That's how this whole thing goes. So all this big talk about HR doing their role in every media department, media company, actually I would say that's not happening. Is justice being meted out? I don't think that is happening. And most of the time, the complainant is actually punished and sent out, which is what happened in this case also. So under that particular circumstances, I had raised this issue, and now they are trying to divert that whole issue by coming out and saying that this person has been harassed, or this person has been abused, and there has been a stalking going on. Where the question of stalking does not arise, because I have absolutely no contact. As I am again, reaffirming and saying that I have never met these people.
So Kishorekswamy says that you have never met them in person. You do not follow them.
No
you
communication.
No messages sent. Nothing.
No messages. I have not messaged them. I have not.
So where does the complaint arise? Is there any slander that you've resorted to?
That is perhaps their claim, and that is for the courts to decide. Now that the matter has been taken to the police, and the police have also initiated action, and they've called me and they've inquired from me also, and I have given my side of the story, which is what anybody should, any normal course of action would be that. And I think the police have done justice. They have not taken any biased stand. They have been unbiased. And it is wrong to say that they were influenced. It is wrong to say that the police were not taking action. They have been taking action as and where the merit arises. But if people want them to take action on frivolous complaints, and you try to make a mountain of a molehill, I think police need not dance to that.
So which is where I'm coming to, because there are two things that I want to bring to light. First thing is, of course, one of your posts where you had said that despite being a law-abiding citizen and always respecting the police force and the state machinery, your parents were harassed. So that is one point. Whereas the other side, I've seen tweets from famous media persons here who claim that you had been taken to enquiry, or rather it was in fact put in a way that you've been arrested, and it was because of the central government pressure, just because you were a right-winger, that you could walk scot-free in even serious allegations of levels against you.
Aren't we contradicting ourselves? Because on one end we say that I could manage Delhi or ministers here to influence the police. On the other end, you say I was called for inquiry. If I could manage that kind of an influence, would I not stop the police from coming to even inquire me? So this whole thing is, aren't we contradicting ourselves? Now, on one end, they claim and they flash the news that I'm absconding. And then on the other end, they say that I've been picked up from the studio. If I was absconding, why would I be working in the studio? So this is like contradictory. I think they should take a stand, which is that what is the normal procedure? You've been in the legal fraternity and you know how it works. You go and file a complaint, and the police act. They will act on that. We expect them to act on it in the sense that both parties will be called, and a fair investigation happens, and then they take a decision after the investigation. Now they have possession of my mobile or whatever. They can always check what is there. They also know about me very well, that I have been transparent. I don't hide. I don't run away. And be it my residence or place where I work, or be it my mobile, it is always switched on only, and everybody knows where I am, and I am only a phone call away. The police also is aware. Every time I have cooperated, every time they have called me for any kind of inquiry, or any time they have called me for any kind of input, I have always put myself in the front. I have never hidden away. So question of me trying to circumvent or trying to break the law does not arise at all.
But Kishore, when three women approached you, they come from really humble backgrounds and they do not have the wherewithal to go to the police and so on and so forth, don't you think you should have helped them in the right way, or rather you resorted to use of words in the social media which have definitely frowned upon by the larger community. But why is that your Kishorekswamy, despite being a well-read man who has so much of experience, has to get down to this kind of attack on even people he considers has done some mistake?
See, the thing is, I function in one particular ID, which is on the Facebook, and I have an ID in the Twitter. So there are a lot of people who use my name, and they come out with multiple IDs. Now, I cannot be held responsible for everything that is being written in those pages. So, which is what is happening. So, what happens here is these people try to pick and choose from different IDs, which my name is being used or misused or whatever it is, and they pick from there, and they try to project it as though it is from my official ID. I have, of course, now applied for a verified ID, and I can say that I am responsible for what is being posted by me in that particular ID. But there also I've been extremely careful when it comes to the choice of words. But what happens here is they try to cherry pick what suits them or what suits their narrative, and they try to project that, and they try to say that, okay, look, Kishore has spoken like this. Whether it would be a few sentences from an entire paragraph, So this is very easy for you, convenient for you to twist it. And the media power that they have, they can always project you, demonize you, and then show you in bad light and show themselves as a victim, which they are not.
So you're basically being quoted out of context, is your claim?
Most of the time, that's what happens.
Okay, so why is that a common man, Kishore, with no political background as such? I believe that you do not have any party affiliation. Why is he being targeted by this, the top-notch media personals? I mean, everybody from the so-called established media here have tried to corner you at some point or the other. So why are you being considered as a threat to them, or is it some kind of a personal rivalry? Why don't you enlighten us about that?
See, I don't know if I can say there can be personal rivalry, because most of these people, as I told you, I have not been in personal contact with any of these people for them to even develop a rivalry in the first place. But then, but there is this thing. See, as I told you, there's this kind of cartelization. Like film industry, you saw in Sushant Singh case, you have this kind of cartelization. This kind of they have this feel-good groups that they form. And anybody who comes from outside is just not accepted unless and otherwise we agree to the kind of ideology that they profess. Now, what happens here is the left-minded, left-oriented, fraternity that they've created,
which is not wrong.
I'm not saying it is wrong, because you can always have. I've always been maintaining that people can have their own ideologies, political ideologies. You go and vote, you go and exercise your franchise, then you are.
Anyway,
you can have a political, you can have an affinity. But the question here is, when you differ with that particular fraternity, you considered an outsider, and you're considered a misfit. You are not considered to be part of this whole, I scratch your back, you scratch my back kind of attitude that goes on. And you would be surprised to note that even right-wing, the so-called spokesperson, the right-wing, they've been going about in this mainstream media, most of them fall into this bracket of you scratch my back, I scratch your back.
That's a serious allegation. Kishore says the right-wing is also sold out.
It is not. I'm not saying sold out would be too big a word, but it would be too big an opinion. I'm just trying to say that this particular,
the right is not right enough?
Yes, you could say that is happening. So the outcome of that is that anybody who falls away or who don't come into this or who oppose this kind of narrative, they are demonized and they're shown as they are, as if they are all serial abusers or the people who are sexual predators, which is not the case. In fact, it is a very kind of a system that is prevailing inside the media, mainstream media, which is the sexual exploitation or so on and so forth, the abuse that is the rank abuse that is going on inside the system, which is what we are fighting against. So the question of we indulging in something that we are fighting against would not arise at all.
Which brings me to the next question. See, there is a series of events happening in Tamil Nadu. A boy in his early 20s is being arrested for having saffronized the Periyar statue, which is considered as a symbol of atheism here and the Dravidian movement here. And that is understandable. But the point is, he is booked under NSA Act, National Security Act. And the very same day or a day after, Maridas, another right-winger, is being, the High Court has given him an order to take off all these videos. That was the next party, that is, his presence was not there. And in the very same day, another right-wing, Mr. Kishorekswamy, has been taken for interview, and probably a day before or after, a criminal defamation case has been filed against Madan Ravichandran, who has been very vociferous for the right-wing cause. So, an obvious question that arises, is there a pattern, and are you able to decipher the pattern, or it's just a case of a bizarre coincidence that has occurred in this?
The pattern has always been there. See, it's not that this pattern is not something that has been said today. This pattern has always been there. So, but I would like to look into the cases from an individual point of view, in the sense that I don't support, desecrating statues. Or, these are all not what we would encourage in a progressive society. So, there the sections or the complaint itself would be for a different genre. Now, when it comes to Maridas, he has been, I don't know if I can categorize him as a right-winger. I could say that, besides the point, I don't even believe there is something called a right-wing. But yeah.
What is your political stand, Kishore?
That is what. Now, let me finish with Maridas. As far as Maridas is concerned, see, he has been raising, all along he's been raising a few points with regard to the media, or the kind of nexus that is being there, that is existing between the media, mainstream media, and certain political outfits, and the way they go about setting up a narrative on the basis of false information or distortion of facts, so on and so forth. Now, there has never been a direct response to what he's been raising. They've always digressed from the main, the moot questions that he's put forward. And they've always digressed into trivial issues like whether an email was actually indeed sent by...
Don't you think that is pertinent, Kishore?
I don't think so, because especially given the fact that he himself claims that he has received this email, and whoever sent it, it should be investigated, the whole issue should be investigated. Now, you distort it. You try to come out and say, was the mainstream media said that an FIR was filed on unknown persons. They flashed the news saying that FIR has been filed on Maridas. Yeah, the complaint perhaps was on Maridas, but the FIR was on unknown persons. So this is the kind of distortion that is going on, and I think where you don't actually respond to the points raised, when you digress from it and you bring about trivial issues, like how the moot question that I had raised with this particular lady would be her misusing her position to abuse some of her own female counterparts. Now you digress from it and say, no, look, see, Kishorekswamy is abused, he's a serial abuser, he has abused women journalists, and there was one particular journalist who raised an issue, say, 3 months ago. There's another journalist who has raised an issue now 3 years ago, and all of that put together. And so this is the kind of digression that happens. Now, my question is, beat the complaint against me, beat the kind of allegations that has been time and again put across against people, like for example defamation, I would say way to go. If you feel that you've been defamed, go to the court, file a case. That should be the due process of law. That's how it works. Now,
which is what they've done.
And they can do that, but then before that, look at the demonization. There were more than how many channels he was in. He had to keep jumping channels because he claims that he's been given a tough time in most of the channels. I don't know how much of that is the veracity of those claims. Yeah, we have to see. But you can see a pattern where anybody who emerges from outside this particular narrative or this particular comfort zone that they have created, this ecosystem that they have created, anybody who is coming comes from outside that, they are not welcome.
So let me digress a bit with your permission. So in all your narrative, all your Facebook posts, all your Twitter posts, and all the interviews that I've seen, there is a single agenda of DMK bashing, and it has been very strong. Okay, and do you get threats for the same, or do you get some kind of fear mongering in the public when you go outside, or you've been handling that well? Because I bring up this question basically because they are using other machineries to target you right now. Okay, so has there been threats before this, Because from that we can understand if there is a pattern from some particular political party.
See, the answer to that is in your question itself, I would say. See, this is the question that a lot of people ask me. I would say 90,
so I'm not wrong there.
More than 95% of the people who maybe my well-wishers or friends or relatives or whoever, or associates, the question that they keep asking me is, don't you get threatened? So which means that that is an ecosystem, political ecosystem that has been developed in this state for decades now. That anybody who questions this political thought process or anybody who questions this particular DMK ideology, they will be threatened.
Why this hatred, Kishore?
No, it is not. I would not say hatred. See, you can always have a difference of opinion, but look at the way people come out and ask you, the concern that people express. You can from that you can understand that fear is always there among the people. Now, who created that fear? Can you say DMK is not responsible? I can show you a lot of examples to
Quote one or two.
Quite a lot of examples. Every time anybody, you just go and see their social media. You just go to my Twitter page, and you just go to my Facebook page, and every time you see a particular statement made by me questioning the ideology or questioning the statements of their leaders, just look at the comment section. Look at what all kind of comments are coming from people who claim to be their loyal party workers. The first thing is about how to target me physically, or the second thing is about abusing my family. So this is the kind of narrative that they
But you've not gone soft on them, have you, Kishore? You've always been, ridiculing the party.
See, ridiculing somebody is part of the democratic process. Now, the answer to that is not abusing, or the answer to that is not...
So you take ridicule well, but not the abusing part, right? That's what you...
See, it's not about not taking it well. I think it is an accepted norm here. In Tamil Nadu, it is an accepted norm that you will get abused the minute you have a different point of view, political point of view, especially when it comes to the DMK. Now, you may ask me whether this is not there in other political parties. Yes, of course. Nowadays, it has become like a part and parcel of every political discourse, so that the minute you are you oppose the ideology, they get personal. Now, that allegation is made against me as well, and I have been defending that in whichever way I can. But the point remains that to what extent DMK goes and what extent the other political parties go, you will find that the DMK stands as the
hallmark of
yes, they set the benchmark, and the others are all I would say they all are inspired from this. So the minute you come out with a different standpoint, there's a volley of abuse.
So my question is, if you want to rectify this political culture, this political discourse, shouldn't you be approaching a more decent approach instead of taking their patriarch or taking their leader and calling him a person reading from notes, or ridiculing him at every point, and even bringing out names for him, name shaming him and all that stuff? Don't you think you should have taken a different path instead of again following the same trend set up by them, allegedly set up by them, according to you?
The thing is, when you come into the social media, you have to understand this is a kind of a language which more of a colloquial way of dealing with, the communication levels are different. So you cannot compare them to the kind of communication levels that you will have with the mainstream. So there you can, we even call it framing. That's a legal term given to the kind of conversations that we have on the social media. So that particular mode of language cannot be completely, debunked and say that no, it's crass or something like that. It's just the way normal conversation goes about. But yeah, we cannot go beyond a point like body shaming or etc. etc. If that happens, I think yes, that restraint should be there on each of us, and we should have that kind of.
Does Kishore have a restraint that way?
Yeah, I think there have been instances when I might have, moved a little away.
And you regret for that? Or?
I was not regretting. It's a question of you correcting yourselves as when you see, as when you find that yes, you have, because when you have a series of conversations going on, there are instances where you can slip. But that doesn't mean that should be the norm. Yeah, it should not be.
Alright. So my next question is, Kishore, what is the way about from now on? Having come out of the enquiry, I don't think it must have been a tedious process. It must have been a very normal process. Having come out of it, now that your phone is not with you, what will be your activity levels in Facebook, and which is the question that most people ask of you. So what will be your level of activity? Will you reduce your tone, or will you change your tone, or will you go all guns right now? Because that's the question people want to know.
See, the mindset that I have, the normal course of life is, I don't want to sound philosophical. This is not what I'm attempting to do. But see, my mindset is the same whether I have the phone or I do not have the phone. And the basic idea behind even fighting this whole issue is, their idea is, if the voice of Kishorekswamy is stifled, it sends a signal to any other person who might even attempt to question the whole media fraternity. So anybody who questions it will end up meeting the same fate. That is the kind of message that.
So it's a matter of symbolism.
Yes. So that particular symbolism is what I'm fighting against, and I would definitely not want to give a difficult time to the police. In this, I would, in normal course of event, I would say.
So just to the opposition parties, huh?
I just want this symbolism to be fought, because this is not about Kishorekswamy. This is not about an individual. This is about what they want you to understand, which is that they are all powerful and they can pull all strings, and a common man cannot just stand up to it. So that particular thing has to be broken. That jinx has to be broken, and that is what I am attempting to do. So I'm not looking at this to be a personal victory or to something that you.
But your fans do, because they've taken this Talaivar video and made a video where they're like super happy about you coming out, which is welcome. But again, the due process of law has to go on.
See, the question is, nobody can show their thumb at the law enforcement and say that this is a celebration. It's not fair to do so also, because see, it's a legal issue. A complaint has been filed, an FIR has been filed, and there's a due process. The police is doing what has to be done. In this particular case is being done, justice is being served, and it will go up to the court, and we are going to face it there. That is one wing. But the other wing is, how do I go from here? Now I would say that yes, I expect them to take up one issue after the other and come after me, which is something that they've been doing for quite some time now, and I'll have to have the conviction to face it, and which I will.
So, we've heard enough from Mr. Kishorekswamy. We wish you the best of luck in all your good endeavors, and may all your best intentions come true. So with that, I want to summarize the interview. This is a person trying to express his voice. He says he's not wronged, and he says that it is cartelization that is targeting him. So it is his right to freedom of speech and expression is what he seems to be saying. But of course, we do understand that all rights come with reasonable restrictions, even right to freedom of speech and expression. Whether or not he's crossed the borders and hurt somebody and created a public disorder or created disaffection or some kind of negative sentiments in people is something for the courts to decide. But this is an issue that people should know, and that is why this has been this one-on-one interview was planned. So thanks for staying tuned. Jai Hind.